All right.
Excellent. Thank you, Daphne. Welcome. It is July 14th at 7:01 p.m. As a preliminary matter, my name is Justin McCullen. I am the TMAC chairman. Permit me to confirm that all members are present, anticipated on the agenda, and present and can hear me. Members of the TMAC, please, when I call your name, respond in the affirmative. Tony Delgado, easier. Tony. Yes.
Aye.
Rain Hoyland, who I know is not here. Lieutenant McGrath, I do not believe is here. Justin McCullen, here. Seth Bauer.
Present.
Present. Rebecca Tarantino.
Present.
She's excellent. Thank you. Donna Mullen. And Suzanne Stein.
Present.
Excellent. Daphne, is that gives us
You have a quorum.
quorum. Excellent. Thank you for that quantification. And for staff, Bob Wilson, you are here, correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
And the anticipated speakers on the agenda, do we have Miss?
We have the petitioner.
Petitioner Charles Overstreet, Bell there, and may I have, how shall how shall I address you?
Bell Vondergold.
Bell,
but
okay,
Bell,
Bell Vondergold. Okay, perfect.
Bell.
I just want to make sure. Thank you, Bell. So good evening. This open meeting of the TMAC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the former state of emergency, and I believe this was extended by Mass legislators. So the executive order has expired, but Mass legislature has extended the open meeting law. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we've been advised by directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so as long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with deliberations of the meeting. This meeting is a webinar and will not allow public comment except for the petitioners. For this meeting, the TMAC is convened by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note this meeting is being recorded and some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and then take care not to screen share your computer. I have stories. Anyways, anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials have been provided by the members of this body and are available to the town's website as otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda until the chair notes otherwise. We're going to be turning to the first item on the agenda, but before we do, permit me to cover some ground rules. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. There's only one item on the agenda. After they conclude the remark, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to call for comment. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns with regards to that opening statement, the obligatory opening statement? I'm sure all of you have heard way too much.
Comment, Justin,
Yes.
which is before you signed on, the petitioner Bell mentioned that she has a time limit and would ask that we reorganize the agenda to address the petition first.
I can definitely work with that. So with that being said, the opening statement to comply with opening meeting law is concluded. And I think we can accommodate and move, unless anyone has any objection, to move item 4 instead of in front of the minutes approval. If there's no other objection to that, then I will turn the floor over to Bell.
Right.
For your specific portion to accommodate this.
Okay, thank you very much. The issue is the traffic on Charles River Street, in particular between South Natick and Central Avenue, has become, I guess, the secret route, maybe not so secret anymore, for people who want to get onto 128. And they cut through and they are speeding. It takes sometimes 10, 15 minutes for me just to get out of the driveway onto Charles River Street. They are coming like bats out of hell. I got myself a little phone app and actually clocked speeds of sometimes 79 miles per hour. It is designated a scenic route. The speed limit is supposedly 30 miles an hour, but I don't think anyone considers it a scenic route anymore. And there have been accidents at the junction of Grove Street and Charles River Street already this year. I really don't know what to do. I wish it would be possible to put a speed bump up, but when I mentioned that to the police, they kind of, they shot that down and said that that would not be a possibility. But we're at our wits' end as far as the speeding. Trucks, cars, they are, especially during rush hour, and it is a real danger. So I really don't know what to do, what one can do. I've asked the police to set up, speed traps and to see if they can monitor it. I would welcome anyone on the town committee to come and stand in our driveway and witness the situation. And I think you'd all be pretty shocked. So I don't know. Here I am, and welcome any ideas, any suggestions, what one, if anything, can do.
All right, well, I appreciate that, Belle, and I know that normally I would kind of at this point, we have one of the committee members that is not here tonight, who is on the police department, to be able to, kind of give some context from at least the law enforcement perspective.
Right.
Because, there are usually two things that we can, do we can obviously increase enforcement, and that's through there, or we can look at controls. And really we need to kind of assess some things, but I now open this up to members of the committee to see if they had any comment on this particular issue from Belle. Recognize Rebecca.
I just wanted to say it's not a surprise to this committee. I don't think to anyone. So we all know, we travel, we know that the speeds are high, and just for your benefit, it's a town-wide problem. And so, as Justin said, understanding, I think we have to engage the police and first work on control measures, because as they explained to you, speed bumps aren't an option, additional stop signs are an option, but you're right. I mean, the speeds on that road are incredibly fast. Yeah, so I think, it seems to me that we probably just need to engage the police. I'd love to hear what the town employee members think of this, but I think that's probably going to be our best bet at this point.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I think what we've done before, and I'll open the floor up to Tony or anyone else who wants to speak, is I know the police does have a trailer that has a speedometer trailer, and they whatever conditions, there's certain things that limit the conditions of the deployment of that trailer, weather conditions, etc. But and obviously speed, the areas, it has to be safely put somewhere so it's not around a blind site. But we can certainly ask the police department if that's something that they could do, and put that on their deployment schedule at some point, to at least from a prevention perspective. It does, it does provide some people a context of, oh, maybe I am speeding and slowing down. But we can certainly contact the police department to increase patrols in that area, as well as perhaps putting that speed sign up if it's safe in the area that that we're specifically looking, which I think it would be. But Tony has his hand raised. I will.
Mr. Chairman, I think, the first step would be to put out the traffic tubes for a week to document the speed, the 80th percentile speed. I would be in favor of a motion for that.
Music to my ears. Anyone else have a discussion, or we can entertain a motion if we want to?
All right.
Sure. Yes.
I just wanted to mention that apparently Brookline has dealt with problems that are similar. I think they actually erected speed bumps, believe it or not, how they meant that, but it might be something that, you know, one could perhaps communicate with another, you know, district
Sure.
and find how, you know, what maybe they have some suggestions as well. I don't know. I feel badly asking the police to, you know, to put in extra, you know, surveillance, but it really is something that is, over the last 10 years, I've watched it get to the point, like I said, where it's really dangerous.
Sure, sure. And and I think acknowledgement of that is we can, I think, you know, the short term, you know, is to discuss with the police department, and certainly the trailer is a prevention. But as Tony had indicated, that the first step before we can do anything from any sort of, excuse me, short-term temporary control, et cetera, we need to assess the situation. So
Sure.
we need to actually figure out, and when he's talking about the tubes, there are basically rubber tubes that are connected to a sensor that are able to assess a vehicle's speed, weight, et cetera,
Yeah.
you know, that is going through. So that information can be gathered. So at least we have a baseline. You know, we can then maybe look into some sort of controls in the future and then reassess and determine if that's the appropriate. You know, if it's-
Tubes are a fantastic idea because they really do give you a correct and, you know, number.
Your address that you're saying, so so here's what
We
I'm doing. I think that Tony was indicating that he would be in favor of a motion from a formality perspective. Would any member make a motion? If not, I will.
Yes, so I move that we do a speed and volume study on Charles River Street in the vicinity of 590.
And that's what I was, okay. And do we have a second for that?
I second the motion.
Second motion. And Daphne, do we still need to go through the? Okay. We'll first do the specifically with regards to location. Mr. Goltz, is there any specific, should we leave it just in the area, and then obviously the discretion
I think,
to the town in the area of your address, which I'm trying to look up
Justin,
right here.
I think the ideal place to put these it seems to me that the ones who are really speeding are the ones that are coming from Natick on Dover Road, and they pick up speed when they pass the little Charles River, the little water lake there, and then they floor it to Central Avenue. So I would say if they could put these, it would be basically between Winding River Road and Bell Lane. That is the crucial portion.
So we have a motion from Seth to put basically a speed type count tubes down in the area, and I think that is Winding River Road, and between Winding River Road and Bell Lane, I'll leave that up to the discretion of the town engineering office for
Yeah,
the final,
we'll
you
find
know,
it.
Right.
the final points. And that was seconded by, who was the second?
Rebecca.
And Daphne, if we could go through a roll, we have a motion on the table for type, speed, and count. And it's been seconded by Rebecca.
Mr. Delgazo,
I,
Mr. McCollum.
Aye.
Mr. Bauer,
Aye.
Ms. Tarantino,
Aye.
Ms. Stein.
Aye.
The motion passes.
So, Mr. Goltz, this is like the first kind of quantitative study that we can figure out. Let's get the data. And then from there, we'll probably have that data at some point. Maybe, Bob, you think maybe next meeting? We think it
Maybe.
depends.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, usually it takes between
be
a month or
about
two
next
to
meeting, yeah.
be okay.
Yes.
All right. So hopefully, and then we'll be able to kind of look back on that. We'll find what is known as the 85th percentile, which is about 85% of the vehicles that go through what their speed is at that time.
Right.
And we'll be able to kind of use that information to either pass along to the police, from an enforcement perspective, or, if there's something that the town, we could work with the town to some sort of controls, signage, et cetera, that we can help to mitigate that. Is that something that, at least we need to have the data, so.
Well, I would like to thank the committee, thank everyone for agreeing to move forward with some kind of research on this issue. I really appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to jump off. Thank you for bringing my item forward. And I wish everyone a wonderful week and a great weekend. And thank you again.
Take care. You as well.
You too.
Thank you for.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Right, so I'm just pulling up the agenda. Let me go back to. Here's everything. Oh, there's things where it needed to be. I believe we went back to the minutes. So if everyone had received the minutes, I will abstain because I was not here. But is there a motion? Well, first, anyone, is there any additions, subtractions, any comments on the minutes from last meeting?
Actually, if you abstain, do we have enough votes to approve the minutes?
Oh, well, then I can approve just if everyone else vouches for it. You're right. That's probably a good point, Mr. Vice Chairman Bauer.
Well, you'd have 4 out of the 5 that are present.
Oh, does that work?
I think so, of the 4 that's present.
If we have quorum, then yes, we would have the
So
majority of the quorum.
so what we could do is just vote on it today. I'll look into it and see if it's the proper number. If it's not, if it's a, do you know what I'm saying? And we can vote
Yeah.
on it next.
But I am also fairly confident that if no one else has any additions, no one has any issues and they believe that they've read it, I will go along with the.
I say Justin just vote.
Which is.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Move the
So
minute.
moved. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I didn't get it. So moved. Rebecca, you had said so moved. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I think Seth so moved and I will second that.
Perfect.
Okay, Mr.
Catherine?
Delgazo,
Aye.
Mr. McCollum,
Aye.
Mr. Bauer,
Aye.
Ms. Tarantino,
Aye.
Ms. Stein.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Okay, my turn.
All right. So at this point, Bob, if you want to bring us through.
I wasn't sure. I can.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure, Justin, if we wanted to make more of the traffic count on Stevens and West Street, Stevens Road, and then the speed count on West Street. It's an old data and we've gone through the results before, but we haven't found out exactly a little more background of what the study was for originally. I think we talked about this a little while before.
Okay.
I could run through the results again and give a general idea of what I think based on my research of the past meetings, what it basically was for.
Okay. Sure.
Then we can talk about it from there.
Sure.
So for Stevens Road, in Stevens Road case, it was mostly a speed study. And the traffic speeds on Stevens Road, this is back from October of 2019, so it's a little while ago, but it is on the report, is southbound 24 miles per hour and northbound 23, which is less than 30. Now, what they were looking for was like a children at play sign or children playing sign with the speed tab below it, located in 2 different locations on Stevens Road at one at each end. And we were looking to try to figure out what that speed would be. And the 85, like I said, the 85% speed is somewhere around 25 or a little less. I don't know how the committee wants to handle it from there.
I'm just trying to find it in the report. So they were looking for speed tabs. Is this?
They were looking for something to slow the speed down, but we mentioned that there was a
The
possibility
speed,
of
we're
putting up
finding out
like
that
a
the speed
warning
is-
sign.
So could we put speed tabs as low as 20, or is there any reason why we wouldn't want to consider that?
I don't know. I don't have that. I'm trying to get it out from my package here. I do have it. Oh, let me see. Oh, here we go, I think. Hold on. Here's the quote, if I may
And then
just
I'll-
run the
I
quote
do
down.
recognize Tony, but yes, go ahead.
Here's the quote from their petition that they sent in, and this is in September, they wrote it, but
Mhm.
we, the undersigned residents of Stevens Road, request the installation of street signage as an effort to reduce the speed of cars using this road. Stevens Road is a home to 26 young children. Cars routinely use this street travel between Great Plain Avenue and Harris Avenue, and to drop off and pick up Pollard Middle School students. In so doing, drivers regularly exceed speeds of 40 miles per hour, despite the sight of toddlers and young children playing in the front yard sidewalks or trying to access the street to retrieve lost balls, really.
Mhm.
They have too many close calls to count, giving rise to this serious concern. It is our understanding that signage provided by the town may be attached to posts nearest number 7 and number 81, either end of the street. By their signatures below, various people sign their names,
Mhm.
and they assent to placement of signage on the post nearest their homes. So they simply want a warning
I
sign
remember
with
that.
a speed tab. That's
Sure, so almost an advisory sign, essentially.
exactly, yes, yeah. yeah.
Tony, I saw you recognize you had your hand raised.
Yeah, so they just want people to know that there's a speed limit and that there are kids there.
Yes, that was, yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm struggling a little. This is the conversation we have every week. So
Yes, mhm, yeah.
about every street.
Yeah.
So what do we do in that case? I think because I live on a busy street, maybe I'm jaded. I think I just keep hearing expectations that kids should be able to play in the road. I just feel like there's this balance between, we clearly have a speed problem townwide that we need to address, but we also seem to have a bit of an entitlement problem also.
Recognize Tony.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, this is a standard request that residents make, for children playing, go slow children playing signs. We've always handled it by petition before. The only question is, should the speed tab, what should the speed tab say? I'd like to make a motion that we install the 2 go slow children playing signs with a speed tab of 25 miles an hour.
So we have a motion, which is going to stop debate right now. We have a motion to put 2 speed tab signs, children at play. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Suzanne seconds the motion. Is there any debate with regards to this question, this motion?
We can proceed with this and then I'm fine. I don't disagree, but we've also had the conversation that this doesn't necessarily mean it will work because it's a townwide problem.
Sure.
So I think we keep putting signs everywhere and then people will ignore them. So so I'm happy to say, yes, I think it's a great idea. I would be happy to do it everywhere, but how can we address this larger issue townwide where
Sure.
there is a speeding problem that we've been talking about for a long time?
And I do acknowledge that. Rebecca, Tony, I saw your hand raised.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we have a speed problem on Stevens Road. The speed is going less than the mandated speed. It's actually going less than 25 miles per hour. But if the neighborhood would feel better, quite frankly, this is the approach that the TMAC is taking. I would just go along with it.
Sure, noted. Any other comment, Suzanne?
Yeah, did I understand this was back from 2019? Like
Yes.
what's been happening the past year?
Sure.
Well-
I've asked Bob to kind of look into some of our old history, and I know some residents have also come up and say, hey, what has been done, et cetera. But I wanted to take a deeper dive into some of the stuff because I think that we might have tended to let things kind of fall, or studies were done, but yet the committee didn't come back and actually make a motion on something to kind of full circle. So some of that is that, and some of that is, I know that there have been residents that have kind of checked back in, but Tony, so.
Mr. Chairman, it's actually good that it was done in 2019, so it's pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, yep.
So you're getting, you're getting good numbers. The traffic study, the typical aging of traffic studies is, as long as the study is done within 5 years, it's considered to be good. In this particular case, I'm glad that they don't have a more recent study, because I think it would be tainted.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
So we had a motion by Tony. It was seconded by Suzanne. Is there any more on the debate of this motion? Any comment before we come to?
Okay, Mr. Delgazo,
Aye.
Mr. McCollum,
Aye.
Mr. Bauer,
Aye.
Ms. Tarantino,
Aye.
Ms. Stein.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. And so Bob, do you want to kind of bring us through?
Okay, there's a couple more.
Thank you.
A couple were mentioned on the agenda. The West Street second speed study, we did one further halfway up the hill previously. So this is around the same time, the September 2019.
Yep.
And now we did another one at the bottom of the hill.
Yes.
And we recently gave the results on that one, which is shown there, and I can run them again. Actually, I'm sorry. No, this was in COVID time. I'm sorry. The second study was done in COVID time. First time, not.
Is this the
But
4339?
43 and 39, yes. And what they were concerned with is the speeds, and they were looking for more enforcement, I think, on this one. They didn't care much about the signage. They were just concerned about, this enforcement issue.
Okay.
I'm not sure what we can do.
Yeah, no, I mean, other than
from here,
making
but-
sure, can we make sure that this information is over to Lieutenant McGrath? It's followed up. I know that, just full circle, he's not here tonight. So just to make sure that that gets forwarded over. I know it's obviously that was, but that I think is to what, I think there is a speed issue on West as part of
Yes.
the greater, the
Yeah.
greater,
Right, again.
Needham. Tony, okay.
Mr. Chairman, the DPW constructed a speed trap for the police at the bottom of the hill. It's just beyond the West Street sewage pumping station.
Okay.
It's that funny little asphalt area that's
Yeah.
like just all paved.
Oh, so
doesn't
they can
go
just park there and be able to put the,
Yeah.
okay.
and get them with the radar. Yep.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Duly noted. Very well. Excellent. So if thank you for that, Tony. And Bob, if you could make sure just that information gets.
I'm right. I'm just writing it down right now.
Perfect. Sent over to
Yep.
Lieutenant McGrath.
Okay. And we have a couple of more recent developments, one of which is the installation of the sign on Central Avenue near Webster Street and Rosegate Road. That sign was installed in end of May by the Highway Department. That's the intersection ahead sign with the flashing. That was recently installed.
Great.
And more recently also is from the other end of Charles River Street near South Street. We have some results from that. This is from the last meeting, in June meeting.
Okay.
We have an average daily traffic westbound of 1,776 vehicles and eastbound of 1,465 vehicles. 85% speed. This is on Charles River Street, but at the stop sign, near the stop sign, so it's a little slower. It's westbound is 30 and eastbound is 32. So they're still moving even when they're close to the stop sign. And the percent trucks, which is what the gentleman was looking for, was 4.4%, which is slightly lower than 5% minimum threshold to try to move the trucks from one street to another.
So it's under the.
It's a little bit
state
under, not
charter.
much under, but a little bit under.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's generally what I have right now for updates.
Are there any comments from the committee with regards to reports? Okay. Thank you, Bob. I know, and don't have my agenda up open. I don't know what the next item is. Is it?
The informal discussion about in-person versus
Oh, yeah.
online meetings.
Does who wants to? Of that come, Rebecca, did you, I know you had mentioned something at the end of 3 meetings ago, I think, or 2 meetings ago with regards to that. And I think I was not attending the last meeting. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? I'm just trying to pull my notes.
I did. Yes, I think the question is, can we remain virtual? Do we, do we need to be meeting in person? I think it's easier if petitioners can be at home. It's easier if we can be at home. I don't know if it has to be every meeting, if we want to be able to meet in person a couple of times a year, but for in terms of commuting, I think about, the members of the committee who live elsewhere. It's, easier for them to be able to be at home. I just feel like it's more efficient.
Sure. No, and I think that I know that we're kind of beholden a little bit to what what open meeting law, what the legislature will allow. But I know that I recognize Rana has her hand up, our staff liaison. Did you want to comment?
Oh, thank you. So yes, you are able to meet virtually until I want to say it at least until September, Daphne.
Officially, the legislature allowed it until April. However, there's always the town and what they require, but it looks as though, as what Rana was saying, the ability to meet remotely is all the way until April. But I think the town is going to revisit that in September.
And
So
ultimately,
the governor did extend
Extended to
the
April
virtual.
2022.
Yep. So you're able to stay virtual at least until the end of the year. So it's really up to you. At this point, other boards are meeting virtually. The design review board is meeting virtually. So if you don't want it to be in person, that's fine, and the state law allows for it. So
I'll still
but
have to-
ultimately it's up to the state law, correct? So that
I think there are some talks of a hybrid situation, but there are two things to consider. One is that not all rooms in the town are equipped for that. And then also for the recording secretary, it can be difficult because of because Daphne would have to put in considerably more effort having to use the owl that would put your face on the screen, and we don't have a lot of these owls. And so so for now, the ultimate answer is yes, you can remain virtual. I know Donna has expressed that she'd like to remain virtual. Rebecca, I also know that you have expressed that. And then once the the extension order is revised, then you'd have to revisit this topic.
Seth, you were going to make a comment. Just before you do, I'm going to want to go around the room and see what everyone's kind of pulse check is on this. So
so the end of my thought was just, it's clearly not up to us to decide that we can do this indefinitely.
Sure.
But my sentiment, while I have the floor, is that we might as well stay virtual as long as we are allowed to.
Yes, I agree too.
Suzanne, do you have?
I'm happy to stay
Okay.
virtual. I'm fine to go in, kind of. Doesn't matter. Honestly, doesn't matter.
Sure. Tony, do you have a opinion?
Well, I think I'd like to stay virtual.
Okay.
As long as we can.
Sure, okay. So I think obviously we're allowed to right now. So at least in the near future, we can. I probably share more Suzanne's sentiment. I can do both. I think there's some advantage to be able to. There's an advantage to running a meeting in person. I think that there are some challenges to running it via Zoom that I think that I think a lot of you have given me a lot of leniency and a lot of stuff that I've but nonetheless it is kind of tough to do, especially in some contentious issues that we could run into. I think obviously a meeting like today, no issues, but certainly a large agenda can provide some, and especially public comment can provide a level of complexity from a logistical perspective to manage, and so virtually, but obviously I can do both. I probably would prefer in person, but I would, continue to do what the committee wanted, to do, online for as long as we can until we are, obviously forced either from the town or the state to go back to in-person meetings. So just kind of my opinion on it. Rana, did you see your hand?
Yes, so I just reviewed the guidance. So
Mhm.
yes, we are encouraged, we are allowed to remain virtual until April 1st of 2022. And I know from another town liaison that the town has encouraged us to remain virtual at least until the end of the year. So I know that Dave Davison and other town employees will revisit, but for now, there's no problem with remaining virtual. And on another note, I just wanted to let you all know that I will no longer be your town liaison. I'm I'm moving on to the MAPC, and another coworker of mine, Tyler, he's the admin analyst within the Needham DPW admin division. He will be your new liaison. He has a master's degree in planning. He loves, complete streets and all this stuff. So I think he'll be a great fit. I'm going to send out an email to introduce you guys to each other. And then the next meeting, he will be the town liaison moving forward.
Great.
And then the other item, which I believe Clay brought up, is that there's a conflict. Clay, can you remind me of the date? I'm sorry, was it October?
It was for,
September. October?
I thought it was August.
September 8th.
Oh, September 8th.
You're scheduled for Wednesday, September 8th, and there's a conflict on the license for that particular meeting.
So he,
Oh,
so
you mean
he
the
has
Zoom
one
license, you mean?
license.
Yeah. With
Hey,
the
I'm wondering if you can stay on your same date if we find another license. The DPW has a license, don't they, Rana?
I don't know.
No,
I wanna
you know
say
what?
yes.
Why don't we
Who are
just
we
stay on the
fighting with?
same? Huh?
I want to say yes.
Who
I
are
think
we fighting
Cecilia
with?
uses it.
No,
I
no,
want to
it's
know what
not.
committee. I
I
want to know
think
what
it's
committee
I
is.
think it's the conservation, the
Oh,
people that we're fighting.
Concon has. Anyway, sorry. I
Daphne, don't say anything.
But
We're
if you
fighting
want to remain on that date,
Sure.
we can go on other town licenses.
I mean,
That's
I
generally
would
what
probably,
happens.
for consistency's sake, I would prefer to probably stay on that just because that fits on everyone's agenda. Unless anyone else has any comment, it just kind of comes up in my calendar, and it goes forward with that. So if we can find it, obviously, if we're forced
We have
to.
2 months to do that, so we can go ahead
Sure.
and look at the
Yeah.
other
It might be Rosh
licenses.
Hashanah, actually.
That's right. September does.
I
Oh.
think it's the second day of Rosh Hashanah.
Oh,
Oh,
Okay.
I did not hear that.
Hashanah,
Okay.
which may only affect me and maybe one
No,
of.
No, you shouldn't.
and my daughters.
There's generally a policy you don't meet on
right.
high.
So obviously, if it's that,
holidays.
okay. We will look into that, and obviously, if we need to
This-
shift it or skip it, we'll look into that. But that's something I'll put down and figure out.
I
Thank you
will
for-
let Tyler know about this, and hopefully he and the chair and Daphne can work it out. And Cecilia does have a license for Zoom.
Yeah.
So
so
maybe we could ask her to use hers on another day if that day is not working, 'cause it's gonna be on a high holiday, so.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
that generally, in the past, I've had a conflict, Clay and I, we have conflicts, and so what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and make sure that we're scheduled with another license holder, so that's fine.
Yeah, so these are all the updates that I
I
had.
can go at it with the chair of Concon. We can figure it. Anyway, just so that was a joke.
He's sitting there.
Any more about this discussion via TMAC in person via Zoom? Any other comments before we move on to the adoption of the Newari principles? All right. With that, we can move on to the next item. I know that this obviously has been each of the committees, and I think we've forwarded way back. There was a request to forward the principles when they first came out by town meeting office. And I know we didn't actually discuss it from a committee perspective, but let's certainly do so. Does everyone familiar with the principles and how that's being, each of the committees in Needham are being asked to adopt that? Are we familiar, yes or no? Do we? Oh, let's see. We have the email that was sent out. Do you have the?
Oh, do you want me to pull up the agenda packet? Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's in the agenda packet. So this was from, it was to all the boards, committees, and commissions from Kate Fitzpatrick, our town manager, regarding racial equity statement from the town of Needham. So there was a statement that was issued. It was part of the agenda packet. And then there were the racial equity statement from the town of Needham, where it had principles of actively engaged. Should we share my screen, or do we think that, do we have this, that we can pull it up?
I think
But
everybody got to see it, and we
Yeah.
can probably jump right to a vote, Justin.
Yeah, so I mean, it's unless there's any comment, I would make a motion for endorsement of the Newari principles as given by the town manager and endorsed by this committee.
Sorry, so just for clarity, this is the racial equity language? Oh, okay.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
so just each
Yeah.
committee, the commission,
Okay.
et cetera, has been asked to
I wasn't
endorse
sure
it.
the acronym I was getting lost on the
Oh, I'm
acronym.
sorry.
I got
Yes, sorry.
it. Okay, thank you.
So I will make a motion that we endorse as worded for each of these guiding principles going
Yeah.
forward from team.
I second the motion.
Rebecca seconds the motion. Daphne. if you
All
could,
right, Anthony Delgado,
Aye.
Mr. McCollum,
Aye.
Mr. Bauer,
Aye.
Ms. Tarantino.
Aye.
And Susan Stein.
Aye.
The motion has passed.
So Justin, before we get to adjournment, I have, it's partly a procedural question and partly a committee question, which is, I think we've all been starting to look at kind of the larger issues around the kind of mission and efficacy of our committee. And I'm just wondering how we go about pursuing that. In other words, is that something we can put on the agenda and adjust, discuss as a committee? Is it something that has to be brought to the select board to oversee it? Like, have you looked into that at all?
Yeah, so our charter is pretty clear that our directive, because it really isn't a charter, it's not we're not codified in the town bylaws. We are merely a whim of the select board. However, the select board has come across and said this is what our charge is. So from that perspective, I think we're clear, and I've had some dialogue with regard to this. From a procedural perspective, I think we can define some guardrails. We can certainly put this on the agenda to discuss. Let's just say almost even a standing item on the agenda for at least the next few meetings, so that we can figure out what is how we define what we initially intake in, versus, because what we want to do is want to keep avoiding doing the same thing every single week. And the same issues. And so I think we can provide those guardrails. We can provide that information. I can work, or we can as a committee work with our public information officer in the town who I've talked to help, work on the website and our intake form for, the information that we present out to the community that then they put on the online submission form. We definitely have, and we can change that. That doesn't need to be approved by the select board. That's within the purview of the TMAC.
So
But we certainly,
can we or should we appoint a subcommittee basically to make some recommendations about sort of the parameters of the how the committee operates, and
we can certainly do that. Yep. Do I hear a motion for that?
do I need to make a motion?
Well, I think we would need to make a motion to create a subcommittee to look at our, unless we wanted to do it as a committee, and we could put a standing item on the agenda, depending upon the number of entries that we have each week, or, each month. But I think that, yes, if we wanted to get a couple of us together, as a subcommittee of the TMAC, as long as it meets and consistent with open meeting law, et cetera, we can certainly, have that conversation.
Well, then I would move to create a subcommittee to do that. That is open to any committee member who volunteers to be on it. So it's not limited by size or.
Okay. We have a motion on the table to create a subcommittee to look at procedural, let's just say optimization of the committee, and is open to any members that want to participate in that.
I will second the motion.
Seconds the motion. Daphne, if you could run through that.
Okay, Mr. Delgazo,
Aye.
Mr. McCollum.
Aye.
Mr. Bauer,
Aye.
Ms. Tarantino,
Aye.
Ms. Stein.
Aye.
Excellent.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And Seth, as vice chair of TMAC, you are chair of the subcommittee. And going forward, we can it's been created, and we can certainly work with Daphne in terms of agenda, consistency in open meeting. It allows us to kind of meet offline from the main meeting, but certainly we need to be consistent with OML. But yes, we can look at operational efficiencies and bring back to the main committee if they want to accept, procedural efficiencies and optimization for how we do business, honestly, when it comes down to
Did
it.
anybody currently at this meeting volunteer to join this subcommittee? Dustin, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Good.
Perfect. And we'll make sure that we get this out. I'll let the others who are not here, give them the invite as well.
Great.
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 In that case, maybe we should move to adjourn.
Second that motion. Discussion?
Aye.
No discussion. All right,
Mr. Delgazo,
Aye.
Mr. McCollum,
Aye.
Mr. Bauer,
Aye.
Ms. Tarantino,
Aye.
Ms. Stein.
Aye.
All right. We'll see you next month.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks,
Take
Rana.
care.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Ron.